Friend of the show, an active player, which is always a good idea to express what you think you know and then have an active player tell you, no, that's wrong. I see it every day. Friend of the show, Chris Eubanks, with us for this recap. Chris, just real quick, it seems like we've run from Roland Garros into Wimbledon, and I try to, on this show, not be the former player that walked uphill both ways to school back in the day, right? I always tell my friends, anyone who is talking to a professional athlete and they say that they did it better 20 years ago, it's for their own vanity. Are you as shocked by what you're seeing with power, speed, movement in and out of the corners, every fucking guy sliding on grass? Like, is this something that you think has happened or gone crazy in the last 5 years? Because I'm watching it and it's like I'm watching Aliens.
Yeah, 100%. It's so funny. I've had this exact conversation with a few players on tour and guys who, I turned pro in 2017, guys who were kind of around that same time. So we transitioned from the older Americans, and by older, I mean like the guys like the DYs, the Ryan Harrisons, like that group where they were kind of like the established pros when we were coming up, the guys who were 40, 50, 60 in the world.
Yep.
And have kind of gone through that, have seen obviously the Zverevs come through the challenger ranks. Like the timing of it is pretty cool. So from 2017 till now, roughly 8 years, we've seen a lot of tennis and a lot of changes in tennis. And when I talk to a lot of players who kind of also been through this same timing, they're like, the game shifted massively in the last 2 to 3 years. It's like something happened. And I know a lot of players have spoken about the balls post-COVID. And I think something has happened in the tennis side in which we're seeing, what you would expect, the product of watching Novak and Rafa and Roger, these players who were super complete. These juniors are now developing into good college players and then good pros and starting to really establish themselves, like the Carlos and the Sinners, the Caboli obviously had a great run, who's a guy who plays very similar, ripping on both wings, sliding on both legs. It just seems to be the way that the game is going, in which the days are gone where you have a safe place to go on the court now.
Yes, completely.
That you used to be able to find an area and just say, you know what, if I can just find that spot, I'm okay. I can breathe for a second to then try to attack a different way. Now it just seems if you leave one hanging on either side, forehand, backhand, it's gone. Guys are serving. Caboli was serving 135s. Carlos was hitting 134s. Grigor, in the Renaissance in his career, was serving 143s. Like, I'm sitting here going, like, when did this start? Like, this is not normal, and we're living in the midst of it. And I definitely think over these past 2 to 3 years, the game has just started to change with these players who have grown up seeing, very complete players or developing their games. They're practicing sliding earlier, I think, on both legs. That's become a thing that I'm seeing even on social media. 17-year-olds at academies in Europe are doing. Like, they're training these skills so that when they get older and they get more comfortable with it, it just produces really complete players and really complete tennis.
I couldn't slide on one leg. I think so. The only, I guess, parallel that I can draw where I kind of felt like I got caught midstream in my career was when I came on tour. There were probably, 15 or 20 guys. You're looking at the Moya, the Corechas, who were using Luxilon, right? And who like had a grasp of it. And then some people were able to like hop over to it pretty successfully. But then you had most of us who, would use a hybrid string pattern. Leighton was still using gut. There were a lot of players. And so not everyone could actually hit over a return, just because if you hit 140 or a gnarly kick into a racket filled with gut strings, you can't
It's tough to control.
And so people would chip, right?
Yeah.
And so then as soon as they chipped, then you actually had something to do with it. So for me, it was like mid-career 06, 07, where, the Rafa's come up, where he's made for this technology. But then we start, and then Wawrinka adjusts to it, and all of a sudden can control his ball flight. And then we get in towards the end, it's like the Dominic Teams and all these guys and the Del Potros, where they're just taking full cuts on both sides with reckless abandon. And I still have this little punchy technique on my backhand where I'm trying to flatten the ball and, put it down. And you kind of get caught in an underswell. It seems like that is happening, the thick body rackets, but it seems like there's this like assault on physicality where everyone is so fast and so tall and so athletic. and maybe they took the former generation with Novak, Roger, Rafa, like the people that didn't actually have weaknesses. But I also have a question. When it becomes like a mono surface, right, and you're not dealing with playing on a lightning fast indoor court and then go into the slowest court you've ever seen, where it all is kind of like slow adjacent.
Yeah.
And is this the first generation that's grown up on that, where you have to take full cuts because you are on slower surfaces? And then we get to Wimbledon and someone hits a slice, Grigor starts slicing, and people's heads explode.
Yeah, that's a very good point, because it seems like you still can have, elements of the previous generation, the skills. Zverev has talked about it a lot. He said it's not tennis anymore. It's not a game of, and I'm paraphrasing, but it's everyone's just kind of ripping on both wings. The skill aspect of playing a short slice, playing a deep slice, playing, high and heavy, catching next one on the rise, just redirect, like using the variation that we see Carlos do so well. Like, that's kind of gone out the window, because if you play a slice on a slow court and the ball checks up a little bit, guys are taking full cuts on it. So that's why I think we saw Grigor having a lot of success doing that with guys this year at Wemby, because the grass just kind of suits it. It keeps the ball a bit lower. But I guarantee you, Grigor tries that same slice, say, in Acapulco, where it's heavy, it's slow, like guys are running around there ripping balls, like looking for opportunities to just have a ball with a little bit of time. So yeah, I do think this is that era of players who've just kind of grown up on slower surfaces. They've just become more accustomed to it. And I do think, sports, so much about sports is a copycat league. Once you see a player now taking cuts on both the forehand and the backhand side, and you realize that it's a possibility, you're like, maybe I should practice that. And, for a while it was, I'm sure you could probably speak to it, Andre was very unique in which he could hurt you on both wings. Yep. But for the most part, it was serve and forehand guys. And the back end wasn't looked at as, we also need to hurt guys on this too. We need to use the backhand to set up the forehand. That's why a lot of guys will use the chip. That's why a lot of guys are very good at going flat in the zone, because they're the only thing they're trying to do, they're not trying to win it with the backhand. They're trying to set up the forehand. And then you start to see players come in swinging on both wings. Dominic Thiem was a great example. Somebody who just took cuts on both the forehand and backhand side. Now, a guy who's a serve forehand guy can also hurt you really bad with a backhand if you leave it hanging. So now it's like, oh, if you're watching that, you're like, oh, you don't have to just have a weapon on one side. You can start taking cuts on both and be effective doing it. And like, they're seeing it, and the game just continues to evolve.